Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Dubai Air Show, where our coverage is sponsored by FLIR Systems. And we're talking to Joe DeAntona as a jet goes over our heads here at the sunny Dubai Air Show. You're the Vice President for Business Development and Strategy for Integrated Air and Missile Defense at the Raytheon company. Joe, thanks very much for talking to us.
Well, thanks for coming over to our booth.
It's a real pleasure. Congratulations. You're an air defense artilleryman who continues to be engaged with air defense. Patriot had your program had a very big win in Sweden. Real big shift for the country that historically has looked at air defense as something that its fighter force does, or uses attack missiles. This time, it's in the drive to get an integrated air and missile defense capability, and some of that was demonstrated in the Aurora 17 exercise that we saw with a Patriot battery located in the south of the country that gave coverage over the entire region. Talk to us a little bit about the Swedish requirement, the Swedish program, and what the contours of that system are going to look like. And moreover, how that opens other kind of opportunities. Sweden's always prided itself on being able to satisfy most of its defense needs, but how does that open the door to other sort of cooperative ventures with Raytheon?
Sure. Well, first off, I think it's important to know that Patriot has always had a foundation in Europe. And so when you go back into the European theater and new customers evolve, recognizing that they want to advance their defenses of certain capabilities, the first place they're going to look is where else in Europe and what are our European partners using. And Patriot, as you know, has been in Europe all the way from the days of the Cold War all the way through to today, where it's providing the most advanced technology and capabilities for integrated air and missile defense in the theater. So when the Swedes decide that they need to create their own integrated air and missile defense capability, Patriot and Raytheon would be one of the first stops that they have to make. I think one of the things that we were able to show the Swedes, as well as other customers in that region and worldwide, is that the Raytheon Patriot weapon system is today the most advanced technological capability that exists in the world to provide integrated air and missile defense. And when you take a look at the facts of what comprises the Patriot weapon system, both today and our growth path into the future, it makes it a very attractive investment for new customers.
And talk to us a little bit about what the Swedes are getting. How many? Just talk to us a little bit about what that initial set's going to look like.
Well, I'm not going to get into the details right now because we're still working that with the Swedish government, and so I will let the Swedish government tell you what they're actually going to purchase. But they are committed to the most advanced version of the Patriot weapon system that we have today.
And so you don't want to prejudice your talks with the FMV Materiel Administration right here on our little program.
That's correct. We've forged a great partnership with the FMV. We will retain that and we will work together into the future to provide the Swedish people and the Swedish government the best capability that we have.
Okay, so at this point you guys haven't released how many radars or batteries that are going to go. Okay, got it. So let me take you to the broader thing. Several tombstones over the years have been erected on the Patriot program, and a little bit like Mark Twain, rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. So talk to us a little bit about what are some of the other opportunities and how you guys keep cycling capability into it, but moreover, where are the opportunities as you see them, right? I mean, Sure. It's a high-end system driven by a high-end threat at a time when the Russians are very active, Chinese are very active, so there are competitors, and then of course the Europeans still are going after it with their system. You've got the Team MEADS guys who are also out there in the market. A lot of folks out there, granted, given your edge, but then some people like Turkey made a cost play and said, hey, we're going to, initially many years ago, we're going to go with the Russian system. Talk to us a little bit about where you guys see those opportunities.
So I think one of the things that's really attractive about the Patriot weapon system, first and foremost, 13 partner nations all come together and have invested in the Patriot system to make it their cornerstone integrated air and missile defense capability. There's great power associated with 13 nations coming together. And having to service 13 customers that are spread across the globe, we are in a very unique position to always stay in front of the current threat and what is emerging in various parts of the world. And to your point, when something pops up, when some threat capability pops up in one part of the world, it's not too long before that similar type of capability is going to pop up somewhere else. And so what we've been able to do is leverage the commitment of 13 partner nations, listen to them, work with them, help them help us put together a growth path into the future that has allowed Patriot to be the #1 most technologically advanced air and missile defense capability that's out there. So the thing that's happening right now is you've really got two populations. You've got the existing population of partner nations who plan to have Patriot in their arsenal for decades into the future, and then you still have this population of countries that are wanting to establish for the first time integrated air and missile defense, ground-based. And when you put those two things together, what we currently have with the years of experience that we have been able to accumulate by fighting air and missile defense wars for the better part of the last 30 years, and our growth path into the future makes Patriot a solution that every nation wants to consider. Two of the areas that I think we're spending a lot of investment in, because we've listened to our customers, first and foremost is technology and the radar and the sensor. AESA GaN technology is the wave of the future for ground-based radars, particularly in the integrated air and missile defense sensor. Raytheon is the leader in the world for AESA GaN technology. Our foundry back in Massachusetts is the only U.S. government certified foundry to produce military quality AESA GaN technology. We are taking that technology and inserting that into a portfolio of sensors that we have, both ship-based sensors, air-based sensors, and now we're bringing it to our ground-based sensors, and in particular the Patriot radar. So what does that do for a customer? Well, one of the things that our customers have communicated back to us is they really believe that as they move into the future, they want a 360-degree capability. Utilizing the technology in the AESA GaN, we will be able to deliver a Patriot AESA 360 to our current customers and to customers in the future so that we can meet their needs.
And as for potential, is it Poland? I mean, what's the next big target country? Poland's talked about the importance of an integrated missile defense capability, and the word Patriot has come up in that conversation. Obviously, Europeans also very eager to get in there. What are some of the other markets specifically that are coming up that you guys are gearing into?
Well, Europe is clearly one of the areas that's growing. We're working, obviously, as you mentioned, very closely with Sweden. We're working very closely with Romania. And of course, Poland and the Poland Patriot, they've announced through a letter of request about 15 months ago that they would like to also pursue the Patriot path. So just in Europe alone, you see 3 formidable nations that are moving towards the Patriot solution for their integrated air and missile defense capabilities.
But those countries have not yet committed to it, right? I mean, they're requesting information.
That's right.
And starting the process of going down that road.
We are moving through the acquisition process that 2 nations go through, the U.S. in our particular case, and the host nations to provide them with a capability that will meet their needs.
Now, the next question is a little bit of a toughie. So, it does constitute one of the world's great integrated missile defense, right? THAAD is also another kind of the capability, a little bit on the higher altitude side of things, but still, these are arguably the best systems in the world.
Yes.
However, we've had allies. Saudi Arabia is a close U.S. ally, but it decided to buy a Russian triple-digit system for theirs, and would like to integrate it. So I'm not going to put you on the spot to say whether or not that should happen, because that's something that's going to be a U.S. government decision. When Turkey tried to do it, NATO shut down, and said we're not going to cooperate whatsoever. We're not going to compromise any of our technology, nor cross-connect it to a Russian system. And then the Turks reconsidered that decision and have in the particular case of Saudi Arabia, and again, we have no idea how the governments will decide, but is it feasible to integrate these 2 systems and not compromise the U.S. capability? And I'm relying a little bit on your Army background here. Almost every other place we've integrated a Patriot system into has been an ecosystem that we've been familiar and are very, very comfortable from a security standpoint. This is an important ally, but it also has Chinese ballistic missiles and a whole bunch of other systems. What's the challenge of doing that integration and doing it in a way that actually safeguards your proprietary and U.S. government proprietary and U.S. interests with something that an important customer nation may want to pursue for a whole variety of reasons, some capability driven, perhaps some politically driven.
Right.
Is that a doable thing from your standpoint as somebody who's so familiar with the system?
Well, I can't get into really what's doable and what's not doable. Here's what I will say. we work very closely with the U.S. government and our fellow partner nations to make sure that if there is a requirement that's out there that is validated and is required, and our countries decide that that's the right answer, we will work diligently to make that solution work.
So that it's up to the governments and what the governments allow you to do, rather whatever it is that your specific interest in it is.
Everything we do really requires the support of the two governments, both ours, the U.S. government, and whoever the customer government may be.
And what's the role of you guys protecting your technology, though, in a situation like that, right?
I mean,
well, what's the company's role in protect? Because you guys have an enormous amount. Some of this is U.S. government technology, but some of it is very proprietary stuff that you guys spent an enormous amount of money to develop. Radar technology and sensors, and even some of the networking and increasing on the cyber side, where you guys have made a terrific investment. How do you guys protect yourselves in the process when, let's say, the government say that's okay? I'm sure you don't want a Russian guy going like, that's how they do that. I should have followed this Joe guy a lot earlier. So, how do you guys work that part of it in it, or is that something that is, hey, it's customer dependent and it is what it is?
Well, again, it requires open communications. And I think as long as the customer, the government, and the industry partner are openly communicating on what the desired end state is, the open communications will allow us to arrive at an acceptable solution. How we go about doing that, there's 1,000 different ways that people can do that, and it would be a little presumptuous to say that this is the procedure that we use. At the end of the day, it's about understanding the requirements, working with the government to ensure that we're providing the best acceptable solution that's out there and available to support the customer.
So how many more years do you think that this franchise is going to last? I mean, are you guys counting this in multiple decades or centuries at this point, almost? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny.
Yeah, no, certainly multiple decades. I mean, the U.S. government is committed to having Patriot in the force at least until 2048. When you go around and you talk to other host nation customers, particularly when they see our growth path for advancements using technology, it is many decades into the future. One of the reasons why customers who don't have an integrated air and missile defense system right now are still considering Patriot, because they see the long runway that still exists with some of the larger players, the U.S. being one of them, and their commitment to keeping Patriot in their force for the decades to come.
You've been generous with your time. I have one more question, which is, given the span of this program's life, right, how do you avoid or address issues of obsolescence, form, fit, and function? I mean, you're looking at a vast array of capabilities. Some folks are mixing and matching. They've got older systems, they're connecting them to newer systems. How do you do this in a way that, you always want to get up that savings curve and do always stuff better, but then again, you realize there's an installed base out there that has its own unique, you started at a time when there were 86 chips in these things, right. and not,
That's right.
Yes, and that was a computer chip with a steam wheel on the side of it and a little small smokestack on it. How are you guys working that so that this diverse family, if you will, is still supportable in a way that's economically feasible over the long term?
I think we do two things. One, our company is committed to creating a growth path for our customers, both current and future, that makes Patriot the solution for them. And committed means we invest. As you know, as we talked about the AESA-GaN technology, we started investing in AESA-GaN technology over 15 years ago, before anybody even knew what it was. And so as long as we can have that kind of visionary foresight, and we will invest in that type of foresight, we will be able to provide the customer a solution. The second thing is, we hire the smartest, best engineers and workers that are out there to come join the Raytheon family to help us provide these solutions so that we meet our customers' requirements.
Joe, thanks very much, and best of luck. And it pretty clearly looks like you may actually retire one of these days. While still working in the Patriot program. You started your career there and you'll end it. Sir, thanks very much. Real pleasure talking to you.
It was a real pleasure to talk with you as well.
Yeah, and best of luck on the upcoming competitions.
Thank you very much.